Welcome to Bilingual History. Bienvenidos a la historia bilingüe. For today's lesson, we are learning a little bit more about the colonies. Specifically, we will learn about mercantilism and the triangular trade. Also, slavery. So what is mercantilism? In this plan, nations use their colonies to get rich. En este plan, las naciones usan sus colonias para enriquecerse. Specifically, we are learning about the triangular trade, which used the system of mercantilism. The first part of the triangular trade was that Africans were captured and sent to slavery in the Americas. Los africanos fueron capturados y enviados a la esclavitud en las Américas. The second part of the triangular trade was that America sent raw materials to Europe. América enviaba materias primas a Europa. And the final part of the triangular trade was that Europe sent manufactured goods back to Africa. Europa enviaba bienes manufacturados a África. You can see here in the image, it's called triangular trade because it looks like a triangle. The slave trade. Many Africans died because of this. Muchos africanos murieron por esto. Plantations. Slaves were forced to work on these. Los esclavos estaban forzados a trabajar en estos. Slavery in America. In the 1500s and later, European merchants entered the slave trade. They bought kidnapped men, women, and children from merchants in Africa. They sold the Africans in the Americas. Thousands of Africans died during the awful voyage on the slave ships. En los años 1500 y más tarde, los comerciantes europeos entraron en el comercio de esclavos. Compraron hombres, mujeres y niños secuestrados de comerciantes en África. Vendieron a los africanos en las Américas. Miles de africanos murieron durante el terrible viaje en los barcos de esclavos. The first African slaves to arrive in the English colonies were brought to Jamestown, Virginia in 1619. In time, slaves worked in all 13 colonies. Most slaves lived in the southern colonies, where they worked on the plantations. Los primeros esclavos africanos que llegaron a las colonias ingleses fueron llevados a Jamestown, Virginia, en 1619. Con el tiempo, los esclavos trabajaron en las 13 colonias. La mayoría de los esclavos vivían en las colonias del sur, donde trabajaban en las plantaciones. Slaves had no rights. By law, they were property, not people. Children could be sold away from parents. Slaves could not marry without permission. Cruel punishments, such as whippings, kept slaves obeying their masters. Los esclavos no tenían derechos. Por ley, eran propiedad, no personas. Los niños podrían ser vendidos lejos de los padres. Los esclavos no podían casarse sin permiso. Los castigos crueles, como los azotes, hacían que los esclavos obedecieran a sus amos. Slavery was a terrible evil. It left a permanent mark on American life. Even today, the harm done by slavery is felt in the way people think about each other. La esclavitud era un mal terrible. Dejó una marca permanente en la vida estadounidense. Incluso hoy en día, el daño causado por la esclavitud se siente en la forma en que las personas piensan unos de otros. Review. What were the 3 parts of the triangular trade? Number 1, were captured and sent to slavery in the Americas. So this is the first part of the triangular trade. Primer parte del triangular trade. Africans were captured and sent to slavery in the Americas. Part number 2. Sent raw materials to Europe. America sent raw materials to Europe. And the third part, sent manufactured goods to Africa. Europe. Europe sent manufactured goods to Africa. Choose the correct word for each space. Elige la palabra correcta para cada espacio. In the 1500s and later, European merchants entered the slave trade. They bought kidnapped men, women, and children from merchants in Africa. They sold the Africans in the Americas. Thousands of Africans died during the awful voyage on the slave ships. The first African slaves to arrive in the English colonies were brought to Jamestown, Virginia in 1619. In time, slaves worked in all 13 colonies. Most slaves lived in the southern colonies, where they worked on the plantations. Slaves had no rights. By law, they were property, not people. Children could be sold away from parents. Slaves could not marry without permission. Cruel punishments, such as whippings, kept slaves obeying their masters. This lesson is only a very small bit of information regarding the institution of slavery in the history of this country. It serves as an introduction to some basic vocabulary and facts about slavery. The repercussions of slavery can be felt even today in the daily racism and discrimination that people of color are still subjected to in this country. Esta lección es solo una pequeña parte de la información sobre la institución de la esclavitud en la historia de este país. Sirve como una introducción a algunos datos y vocabulario básicos sobre la esclavitud. Las repercusiones de la esclavitud se pueden sentir incluso hoy en día en el racismo y la discriminación diarios a los que todavía están sujetas las personas de color en este país. Thanks for watching. Gracias por ver.